Well, hello. I had to come back and do chapter 14. Um, this is Stephanie Miller, Steffi, affectionately known in CGA. And this is Soul on Earth, section 1, chapter 14, the challenge of integration. Um, okay. This is a quote by Richard Swartz. Interesting that you knew Richard back in the day, or of him. We can't become centered in what I call the self, the deep ground of our being, by trying to flatten, suppress, deny, or destroy the feelings we don't like in ourselves or others. To experience the self, there's no shortcut around our inner barbarians. We must learn to listen, to ultimately embrace these unwelcome parts. If we can do that, rather than trying to exile them, they transform. Wow. Beginnings of IFS, internal family systems. Okay. As we grow and heal, an essential part of our work involves integrating our new understandings and states of being. Otherwise, our healing will be shallow and unstable, and any expansion of consciousness we experience will be countered by the parts of ourselves that remain in shadow. To understand more about why that's so, we must look at what we actually are and contain. As we've discussed, we each contain many split off younger selves, coexisting uneasily despite radically different perspectives, priorities, and stages of development. In addition, we are energetically connected to the experiences and wounds of our relatives, ancestors, and cultural and subcultural groups. The truth is, the psyche you think of as yours, as actually an aggregate. The truth is, the psyche you think of as yours is actually an aggregate of parts. There is no single you. Although we are socialized to believe in the existence of a solid, consistent self, that self didn't exist. That self doesn't exist. The idea of self is a fiction, a linguistic convenience, a social fantasy, and a source of enormous confusion for many of us. Imagine that your psyche is like a gigantic house full of people. Some of them are crowded into a single room, but like waiting in a patients waiting in a doctor's office, they are each caught up in their own experience and may not interact much with one another. Other parts of you fill other parts of the house, some barricaded behind locked doors, some hiding in closets. In some rooms, two or more people may be fighting. At the same time, someone else might be out on a deck, serenely watching the sunset. Another person in the house may be sitting in front of an altar, meditating. And each of these beings is you. You've probably delegated one or more of these parts to be the you that goes to work, another one or a few to be the you that interacts with your spouse, and others to fill all the usual roles in your life. But they may not know each other very well. They may also mistrust or abuse each other. Why'd you drink so much last night? Or, oh, give me a break. When are you ever going to start going to the gym every day like you said you would? Fuck you. I want my mommy. Stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about, you big baby. And so on. Those voices are very familiar. Now, imagine that a messenger comes to this door with a very important message for everyone in the house. Who will receive the message? And how can they possibly convey it to everyone else? This is essentially the situation in which most of us find ourselves, unless and until we have made a concerted effort to create pathways of connection between our many parts. The lack of emotional integration is a common problem on the path of spiritual growth. We've all met people who seem wise, serene, and loving until their wounds are triggered, at which time their wisdom and serenity goes out the window, replaced by panic or rage. Many great spiritual teachers or leaders have been vessels of light with huge dark shadows, often expressed through alcoholism, seducing students or followers, or abusing people close to them. This lack of integration causes great confusion and suffering, both for the people who experience it and for others in their lives. Unless we consciously work to move a more given awareness throughout our being, or unless some radical disillusion of the being occurs, as happened to Eckhart Tolle or Byron Katie, the knowledge and wisdom gained by one part does not automatically become available to the other parts. This is why we can look and feel mature, competent, and confident in some aspects of our life, but turn into frightened 5-year-olds or insecure teenagers in other situations. It's why so many people contradict their public philosophies in their private lives. It isn't simply that they're hypocrites, although that may be involved too. It's that the beliefs and understandings held in one part of their being have simply not reached to other parts. Of course, it is hypocritical to make public pronouncements that are in stark conflicts with one's own private behaviors. Yet the phenomenon underlying that hypocrisy is this. The man who seduced his teenage foster daughter on Saturday night and the devoutly Christian minister who Christian minister who preaches an inspiring sermon on Sunday morning aren't really the same person at all, though they live in a single body and use one name. Does it sound like I'm describing the psychological condition popularly known as multiple personality disorder? In fact, every one of us has multiple personalities, which some psychologists call subpersonalities, and which Jung referred to as the little people of the soul. The main difference is that people diagnosed with multiple personality disorder, now renamed dissociative identity disorder, often switch so completely from one aspect of self to another that they lose time, surfacing hours, days, or weeks later with no memory of who or where they've been. That doesn't happen to the rest of us, at least not without a lot of drugs or alcohol. We generally remember exactly who and where we've been. We just have no way to make sense of our range of thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. We've all heard the dramatic versions of these stories. The happily married congressman who risks his career by emailing photos of his genitals to a college student he's never met. The anti-gay leader who regularly patronizes male prostitutes. The devoted young mother who deliberately drives her SUV into the bay to drown her children. Most of our life stories may not be quite so extreme, but Walt Whitman's famous words are true to all of us. So I contradict myself? Very well then, I contradict myself. I am large. I contain multitudes. If you're a novelist, These contradictions are endlessly fascinating. If you're a therapist, they'll keep you in business. But if you're a person who sincerely wants to grow and evolve, this multiplicity of selves presents a very real challenge. Here are some steps that can help you create channels of communication between the various people in the house of your psyche. All right, this is where the pavement hits the ground. Is that right? You know what I mean. All right. Emotional integration process. Number one, as usual, change starts with awareness. Before you can integrate various aspects of yourself, you have to know they're there. Meditation or self-inquiry can help you become more conscious of the usual cast of characters in your psyche. It can also help to start with a deceptively simple question. For instance, how do I feel about X? Whether X is your job, your partner, your home, sex, or some other circumstance in your life. It's a safe bet that different parts of you will feel different things. As you listen internally, you will become more able to hear those responses. Number two, the second precondition for change is always acceptance and compassion. Even when you encounter aspects of self that surprise or distress another part of you, you can ask for help from the wisest parts of yourself or from your guides in acknowledging what's there. Sometimes it's easiest to start by neutrally witnessing the various little people in your inner landscape, then gradually moving towards a friendlier emotional stance. Remember, this inner neutrality and even friendliness are not the same as condoning a part of yourself. It's possible to be aware that a part of you is wreaking havoc in some aspect of your life, yet still feeling accepting and compassionate toward that part, especially when you also cultivate awareness of how and why your early life contributed to its way of being. If you have trouble feeling this kind of acceptance, turn to your guides for help. You'll find that they positively emanate that kind of acceptance that you need. Number three, it's also important to distinguish between the wounded parts of yourself and the energetic interference from energies or spirits that aren't you at all. Exploring why a particular part behaves as it does can clarify whether or not this is truly an aspect of you. If something inside you claims to want to make you suffer, it is most likely not you at all and needs to be released. If you sense that you're dealing with something that truly is you, but has radically different priorities from your main persona, your guides can help you determine what kinds of reconnection are needed. That one's a tough one for me. Number four, as you dialogue with parts of yourself, you'll discover how connected or conflicted your inner climate currently is. Sometimes the different aspects of self are relatively understanding and compassionate toward one another. At other times, they are at each other's metaphorical throats. In this case, a soul retrieval or other healing process will be needed. Of course, integration is a lifelong process. Even if we manage to move our entire household forward in healing and consciousness, we will always contain aspects of self at many different stages of development. Yet cultivating conscious communication with our many selves makes our inner lives more complex and dimensional, and makes us more able to accept and even appreciate people's complexity too. Although we will never completely eliminate our contradictions, acknowledging them can keep us humble and allow for more genuine intimacy with ourselves and with others. I had to laugh at myself this morning. I've been staying in a little cabin for the week that so that I could work nonstop on this book. And I've been doing exactly that. So I hadn't washed my dishes for days. The cabin's kitchenette is more of an et than a kitchen. There wasn't even room for the dish drainer on the tiny cluttered counter, so I put it on the floor. A part of me started griping bitterly. I don't like this place. I want a real kitchen. There was a regular sponge, but no scrubby surface sponges of the kind I use at home. Griping voice again. How am I supposed to get rid of this dried food off the plates without a scrubby sponge? Can't believe there's no scrubby sponge. She advertised this place as fully equipped. She said there were even spices. Well, there are exactly 3 spices in the cabinet: chopped onions, cinnamon, and garlic salt. And this stupid little electric hot plate is unbelievably slow. It takes 10 minutes just to boil water. This place is overpriced. I should have gone somewhere else. As this part unleashed its litany of complaints, another more light-hearted part of me began to tease gently. Gripe, 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 gripe. And then another part said thoughtfully, well, it's probably best that I didn't have a real kitchen. I might have spent too much time cooking, but I really wish there were a hot tub. The griping part of me, now emboldened, continued to explain. And the sheets! Can you believe 100% polyester sheets? Am I going to have to start bringing my own damn sheets every time I go away? Doesn't anybody know about cotton anymore? But by this time, even she had begun to find it funny. And by this time, the dishes were done. I've spent at least 60 hours this week working on a book about healing and consciousness, and yet I'm still just as prone to inner snip fits as most other humans seem to be. In fact, working so much on the book may have even made me more prone. See chapter 45, Forces and Counterforces, for more understanding of why. Perhaps someday I will have transformed so completely that I will drift through life in a beautiful haze of contentment, gratitude, and bliss, unruffled by the things that irritate mere mortals. But I'm not counting on it. In the meantime, I can witness my inner petty tyrants with amusement, neither squelching them nor adopting their negative views, neither criticizing them nor letting them take over. And I can also remember that I am much, much more. And from that awareness of more, I can choose where to direct my consciousness. For instance, I've now moved my chair next to the wall heater so that I can enjoy its comforting warmth. Someone made every part of this heater, metal grills and pipes and levers and knobs, and all kinds of other parts I can't see. Someone created propane, and someone brought it here, and someone built this cabin, bought this heater, and installed it, all of which made it possible for me to feel this warmth right now. Outside the window, I see hundreds of pine trees climbing the hillside, and closer to the cabin, one gracious, venerable valley oak, Quercus lobata, the largest of the Northern American oaks, able to live 600 years. It isn't just a tree, it's a work of art. My eyes get lost in its sculptural angles, twists, curves, and knots. Its magnificently gnarled limbs are furred with bright green moss and tufted with the paler green Spanish moss. Some of its branches are broken or cut off, but most of them are still reach toward the sky, each holding up its own bouquet of leaves like a celebration. Yes, there is much to celebrate. It's a beautiful world out there, and in here, polyester sheets and all. All right, that's the end of chapter 14. I like that ending, Ruth. Thank you.